do you know who Socrates was? Yes, sir. He goes, well, tell me about him. I said, well, he's a Greek philosopher. He goes, that's right. He goes, do you know why he wouldn't debate with a man under 30 years old? So, my 23-year-old mind's going, thinking of stuff. Well, because he didn't think that guy was smart enough. He goes, no. He goes, because somebody that age is too interested in winning a debate than learning from it. And you go, now I want you to think about that. And I get up and go back to work. And you'd leave and go, what is that about?
Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. What's it feel like to be in the Welders Hall of Fame?
It's an amazing feeling. There's only a few of us.
Yeah, very few.
Very few. Few and far between. I got inducted 2010, right after doing Cardinals and Cowboys back to back. You hear a lot of people say that they're in there, but they're not. I'm one of the select few. Got that solid gold plumb bob and stuff like that.
It's pretty cool stuff, man.
Sometimes, it's a hassle because they're always on you about wanting more of your stuff. Man, can we have a new pencil, old pair of welding gloves, your hood? I've sent them several hoods and, old shirts that are all burnt up, stuff like that. But
they probably gold plate your hoods now, don't they?
Man, it's been so long since I've been up there. It's a Pipe Fit and Welding Hall of Fame's the top floor of the Empire State Building in New York. And, it's right there by the bathrooms.
Welders are so full of it.
No, that's all true stuff.
So you said back-to-back Cowboys and Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Most people don't know what that means.
Building Cardinal Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, then did, that's 3 years, was 03 to 06, and then 06 to 09 with AT&T Stadium.
And you weren't even out there as a welder, were you?
No, I originally went to Cardinals to hang duck, start planning on how they were going to hang the bull duck, 200 feet in the air, 96-inch round duck. And the guy that started the hydronic piping, he had it going pretty good. He left the company and took a job, went to become a cowboy in Montana.
And it's not a bad gig.
Not a bad gig at all.
Not a bad gig. So, it'd be like becoming a fisherman in Alaska.
Yeah. And
it's like, okay, I can do that.
Finished that, and the duck took on more responsibility of the sheet metal side too. So stayed until the very end, came home and started AT&T Stadium with underground plumbing and was a superintendent at that point. But then my main responsibility at Cowboys was the hydronic piping and getting all the equipment set and getting air on and stuff like that.
So I remember the first time we used that Welders Hall of Fame being in a corridor out at the FW airport.
Yeah.
Some old boys. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Philip Richmond just took a job a few months ago as General Piping Superintendent at Way Mechanical in Dallas.
And before that, you were with TD for many years.
TD Industries for 29 years.
Wow. A little bit different world at Way than it is at TD?
A lot different. My dad worked for TD, I think, 44 years. And so I was kind of born into it. Mm-hmm. Grew up with a welding machine in our garage or one on a trailer in the back of Dad's truck, and just learned how to weld at a real early age. Could pass a 6G test when I was 14. And then, of course, I didn't listen to my parents. Instead of going to college, I went to work.
There you go. Get paid a little faster that way.
Did that. So
how'd you get started in the trades? Through your dad then?
Through my dad. Through my dad at TD Industries.
So was TD your first job then?
My very first job.
So you didn't go to any other companies, didn't try any other trades? You just walked in and said, hey, Dad, I see your footsteps. I'm right behind you. Don't slow down. I'll bump into you.
Yep. Within the first few months, I went with him. We were redoing a big chiller central plant on top of a parking garage in downtown Houston. And I'm just new, 18 years old, new to everything. And son, get up there and make that weld. Do this, do that, and did a lot of welding. And, being 18 and not real smart, what was happening, what people got paid. Well, I started talking to some of the other TD guys that were from Houston, and they're telling me, I found out what they're making as welders. And I think at the time it was like a welder was making like $14, $15 an hour. And here I'm new to the company that hired me in as a piping helper.
You bet.
And I'm making like $8.50 an hour. And I said, hey, Dad, man, these guys are getting, and I can weld as good as they can.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, well, yeah, but I'm going to teach you to become a pipe fitter. You're going to be a piping foreman.
Right.
You don't want to be a welder. And I think back then in those days, mid-90s and stuff like that, you got stuck either as a welder or a pipe fitter. They didn't there wasn't a real combo back then.
Mm-hmm.
There was guys that could do it, but he goes, you don't want to be stuck as a welder. No, I want to be a welder. He gets paid more money.
You bet.
So then hey, you need to go make that weld. I'm just a helper. Yeah, that didn't go over well with my dad.
Yeah, I bet.
It didn't go over good at all. So
people that dumb up, that doesn't work very well.
No.
I've had them on my job before. Do you look back now and think, man, I'm really glad my dad told me not to just become a welder or not become a welder, because you get, and you're good. So
Yeah.
you'd get locked into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very thankful for him for doing that.
So did you go the pipe fitter route? Did you learn to be a pipe fitter, or did you just learn to do everything?
Learned on the job. I mean, I knew how to weld coming in. I was pretty damn good at it, but everybody's different of how they learn. I'm on the job, show me how to do it, explain what I'm doing instead of sitting in a classroom. So I learned a lot just listening and paying attention to what people are doing it and understanding how the systems work. To me, that's the biggest part of it. As pipe fittings, you better know how a system works.
You bet.
Or you're really just going to be a glorified helper, in my opinion.
Join this piece of pipe to that piece of pipe. Yeah. When you were coming up as an apprentice, what type different things do you think you learned that made you want to become really, really good? Because we see people every day now that get into the trades. They don't want to be good at anything. They just want to check. Most people that got in the trades right now in the same position you're in, hey, Dad, the welder's making more money. I want to learn to be a welder. Dad says, no, they're going to say, no, I'm going to become a welder. I want to make my money now. They're not going to make as much in the long run.
No, I can't point out something that really directed me that way. From what I see, I'm a little different than everybody else. My path of growth through TD Industries is a lot different than a lot of other people's. I was a pretty good pipe fitter, was a really good welder I was becoming into my own when I was about 22, been in there for 3 or 4 years at that time. The way TD was structured back then was a superintendent had a group of guys that went job to job to job with him. The production manager at TD, great man named Tom Creed, got moved out of production manager to like a senior superintendent. They put somebody else in that role. So Tom didn't have that crew of guys. He kind of got who was left. And there was no real piping foreman left. So I jumped a big chunk of it. He picked me as his piping foreman, and I wasn't ready at all for that. But I think everybody in their career, plumbing, piping, sheet metal, electrical, any trade, they got that one person that grabs them and molds them into who they become.
You bet.
Tom Creed was that guy for me, even more so than my own father. He's the one that made me who I am. It was looking way ahead and not just being a good foreman, but teaching me stuff beyond and beyond. And I was too young to really understand it at the time, what was happening. He was pretty rough on me for a long, just cussed me out, you young punk rookie, and wore me out, but he was building me.
You bet.
He would make me go fire guys that didn't work for me. As I'm a foreman and a very young foreman, and imagine being a 45-year-old licensed plumber. You did something that didn't show up for work, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then having a 23-year-old pipe fitter come fire you. And he made me do that a lot. And talking about very uncomfortable situations, but all he was doing was growing me for the next steps of my career that were way down. I thought were way far away, of course, when you're young. You know, everything's far away, but comes fast.
None of it's happening right now, is it?
Yeah, right.
Other than firing people, which that's a hard thing to do. A lot of people, that's a thing they never learn.
Yeah.
And they'll get stuck. Hey, I'm keeping this guy forever. I just don't know how to fire him.
Yeah.
What are the things do you think that he taught you that you knew, look, this is going to make me a better person in the long run?
We'd be here for days talking about that. He matured me so much faster. It's the biggest thing. Again, I'm 22, 23 years old. I'm still a kid.
You bet.
You know, and still thinking like a kid, chasing girls, staying out all night, that kind of thing, right? You know,
a lot of stuff to learn, brother.
Yeah, all the fun stuff,
you
right?
Bet.
We would go to lunch together almost every day. He would call me out of the field. He would think of something and call me out of the field by radio. He would set chairs directly across each other. Maybe I could barely fit in, and Tom was a big guy.
Okay.
And I remember one time he pulled me in and he says, "Do you know who Socrates was?" "Yes, sir." He goes, "Well, tell me about him." I said, "Well, he's a Greek philosopher." He goes, "That's right." He goes, "Do you know why he wouldn't debate with a man under 30 years old?" So, you know, my 23-year-old mind's going, thinking of stuff. Well, because he didn't think that guy was smart enough. He goes, "No." He goes, "Because somebody that age is too interested in winning a debate than learning from it." And he goes, "Now I want you to think about that." And I get up and go back to work. And you'd leave and go, "What is that about?" But then he told me something too. He said, you know, 99% of the time you go terminate somebody's employment, you're just the messenger. They've done it to themselves with showing up drunk or stealing, or I'm just the messenger. And he said, you go do it fast. You know, you don't want to be stabbed to death. You want somebody once right in the heart. "Listen, guy, you know, this didn't work out for whatever reason," and get it done, get it over with, get that person off your project. So
let's go back to a tradesman. You came as an apprentice. You're a helper. You're welding, you're pipe fitting, and all that.
Right.
And then you become a fitter. Who taught you to fit? Who taught you? You know, Randy, my son, was a fitter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he learned in the beginning how to keep two welders busy.
Right.
He says, "Look, I can keep two welders with their hoods down." And he learned tips and tricks along the way as to how to do that. And then when he did it, he was that fitter that everybody's like, "Man, this guy will keep you going."
Right.
Who taught you, and what was it that they taught you? What are the reasons they taught you? Why do you want to be that kind of fitter? Because there's a lot of people these days like, look, slower I go, slower they go. We're all going to take it easy.
My dad taught me that, and you just keep people busy.
It's really that easy.
It's really that easy. Do your fit and do the math up front. You know, get this guy welding a flange on this piece of pipe, already have it marked. When he's done burning that out, you know, hey, we can fit this up. Just watching the steps, just keeping everybody moving. Start working it backwards in your mind. How I'm going to hang this piece of pipe, then I'm going to hang this one. If you're got a little bit of brains to you, you can figure that out pretty, you know. And he just would explain the steps. I learned from him, which I think is one of the best, and just did it that way. You know, just he would explain why he was doing things. You know, I was lucky enough to spend that much time with him on his jobs for the first couple of years, and, you know, double checking your math.
That's
and
huge.
And piping is all math.
Yeah.
Measure twice, cut once. Think about your welder too. Don't put him in a bad situation, you know.
Now you say pipe fitting is all math. Were you good at math when you were in school?
Yes.
Do you think somebody not good in math in school can still become a good pipe fitter? Is it learnable?
It is learnable. I think it's more learnable than welding. Welding, I think it's a hand-eye coordination thing. Either you got it or you don't.
I remember you telling me one time the reason you didn't like welding, and it's one word. Do you remember what it is?
I can't remember.
Puddle.
Puddle.
Puddle. Puddle. That's all water thinks about all day long.
Puddle. Change your odds.
Move that puddle around. Yeah. Do you wish your dad would have been smarter? Because then he'd have been a plumber.
Well,
I'll let you think about
he was
that
a
one for
journeyman
while.
plumber.
See, there you go. There you go. So you should have learned that, man.
No, he just chose to do the real work.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
TD Mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
A servant leader type company. And I loved working around you because I love the way you talk to your people and treat your people. Explain servant leadership. If you're enjoying the Trade Talks, hit that subscribe or follow button, which helps us produce this awesome blue-collar content absolutely free. And now, back to the episode.
Oh.
Yeah, getting deep now, isn't it?
It's pretty simple, really. It ain't that deep. It's don't ask somebody to do something you won't do. It's always think of that guy, the lowest man on the totem pole, that he's just as important as the CEO of the company, taking care of my guys in the field, making their job the best it can be, give them the best opportunity to succeed. And it's about that. It's growing your people, teaching the guy next to you, below you to take your job. The guy above you and next to you should be is doing the same thing.
And I've seen you work. I've seen the way that you work with the people under you, beside you, above you, all around you. And I admired that because I think TD spends a lot of time and money teaching people how to be good leaders.
Right.
And that leads to a good culture.
Yes.
And I guess really TD teaches you that from the very beginning. I mean, like day one in the door, it's part of, hey, this is who we are and this is what we do. And
it's changed so much. TD has changed drastically over the years, and I think they were within the first year, they started getting people into that culture. You know, once they knew you were going to stay, you fit with them, and they did everything they can to make sure somebody fit with them. Gave them every opportunity. It's probably about a year, then they would put you in those, start going through those classes. Mm-hmm. And one thing really cool they did was they had somebody sponsor that class. Not just a vice president or a president or a big shot at the company. They would kind of pull from the middle, just a superintendent out of the field, come in and sponsor this and kind of like we're doing, tell them your story and what you do on the job to make, help people grow their careers. And TD's big about that is grow your career, make a career in this industry.
I worked for TD a couple of different times. But one time I worked for David Perdue at Methodist Hospital, which is where I was born. So it's pretty cool.
That is.
He had that same positive mindset. Look, I want to make my people better.
Yeah.
I want to help my people grow. I want to help my people do good. I ended up leaving TD then. I went to work there for a while, got another job offer. At the time it's about money, not moving up.
Right.
And nobody had ever come to me and explained, look, you have a great opportunity here. Worked with some great people, though. I mean, I still have people reach back and say, man, I worked with you at TD 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, that is really cool. It's a mindset that's taught all throughout the company. I had Tommy Mello in here a few weeks ago. Tommy does garage doors. Started out in high school painting garage doors. Now he does $200 million a year in garage doors.
Wow.
As his business, his company. His goal is $1 billion a year. But his whole thing is look, it's about company culture. Mm-hmm. How do we treat and take care of each and every person that we have? How did you learn to use that out in the job, out on the field?
When you work for TD, David Perdue, that positive culture, you see me you just got to be positive. And I don't know that it matters what trade or what, you put a group of people together doing garage doors, mowing yards.
You bet.
Anything, working on a car. If that one person has a bad attitude, it spreads. It spreads like the flu.
A rotten apple can ruin the whole barrel.
Exactly.
Yes.
And when the leader has a bad attitude, if I'm having a bad day, you were in supervision when I met you.
You bet.
If we're having a bad day, that spreads. And you can't let that happen. And you got to have the big picture in mind all the time. You deal with the guy that, he's dealing with a lot of personal problems and stuff. And you can, you get to know people and you see, man, this guy's having something's wrong with that. Always pull that guy to the side, talk to him about it. Man, what's going on? He's got problems with his wife or kids or something. You just try to help the guy. Is there anything I can do to help you? The big picture is you don't want his attitude to spread to that crew because there's 5 or 6 other guys on that crew. This is how they make their living. Their mind ain't in it. If they got a bad attitude, we cross some lines, something, and it just makes us all do rework. And
you bet.
And attitude is a big part of it.
Attitude is something that we can all control too.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a job, Medical City. I had a foreman, and I was kind of rough on him in the morning meeting. I'm like, man, we got to get this done. Come on, you got to step up. You got to do this, got to do this. And all of a sudden, man, I look at him. He's got tears running down his face. I'm like, okay, everybody get out. Y'all go. Yeah. Let's jump out. I said, man, what's going on? He said, look, I'm going through a divorce. He said, my head's not right.
Yeah.
I said, I know how you feel. I'm going through one too. He said, what? He said, I had no idea.
Yeah.
He said, I can't bring that onto the job site with me. When I come onto the job site, it's all about the job.
Yep.
Got to be. I can't come in mad at the world because of what's going on at home. And he says, how do you do it? And I said, that's how. Once I walk in that gate, it's about the job.
Yep.
I have something to do. I can't bring that in here with me, just like I can't go home at the end of the day mad at people on the job and take it out on people at home. It doesn't work. And he said, man, I appreciate this. He said, I never saw it that way. I said, look, go home, take care of yourself. Came in the next day, and man, it was like another guy. And he said, man, I looked at how you did it and looked at how you thought about it. And I like you said that, sometimes we just got to pull people aside and talk to them, say, hey man, how's everything going? Let's go down the break room. Let's walk out to the Connex and just get out and talk to people. Walk down the corridor at DFW, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Have you ever had people that you couldn't help? And I said, hires them. You're like, man, I want to help everybody.
Right.
Then you got your middle 60%. These are the people that get things done each and every day.
Right.
Then you got your top 20%. These are your Hall of Fame welders, plumbers, people like that.
There's not that many.
I know there's not that many. There's not enough to fill a top 20%.
No.
As superintendent and foreman, we want to spend our time on this bottom 20%, getting them up. Look, I know you can do this. I know you can do this. I know you can do this. And really at the end of the day, you look at them, it's like, man, maybe they can't.
Yeah.
Where we should be spending our time in our middle 60% saying, look, it won't take you much more to get into the Hall of Fame to be the best, to be the home run hitter every day.
Everybody runs across those guys that they hit their ceiling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know it. They don't know it. That's a hard communication to have. Is a guy comes to you, says, man, I've worked here 15 years. I need foreman pay. I need to be a foreman, or I'm a foreman. I want to be a superintendent.
Right.
There was a few just easy, and if you're a plumber, you say, hey, Philip, I'm ready to be a superintendent. And you come from the plumbing trade.
You look at me, you say, no, you ain't.
And you just go, okay, Roger, where do you run the rupture disc from a chiller to?
Right.
Or where do you put fire dampers versus fire smoke dampers? Where do you put the access doors? And they look at you like you just said something in Greek to them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be super strong in every trade to be a superintendent, but it's more about the leadership. And a lot of people just don't have the leadership to take that next step in their careers. Hey, these are the things you got to work on if you really do want to put that in. And what I found a lot of times is guys didn't want to put the work away from work. Go to school. Man, I can't go to school. I've got 3-4 kids.
You bet.
I understand that, but this is what you got to do to get here. I can't give it to you because then you're going to fail at it and you're going to wash out, or you're going to go to another company or something like that.
We're going to put you in a position you cannot win.
Right. Hey, I'll give you the opportunity to improve yourself, not the opportunity at the position you want. But you get a lot of guys that came from another company and it's any company. I was a superintendent or I was a foreman on that last job.
Right. They're not making me a foreman on the next job, so I'm coming over here.
Yeah. Everybody wants to move up a position when they move.
You bet.
They usually you'll find out pretty quick.
I love the training part because that's when I really started growing.
Right.
Most people, and I'm not going to say it TD because I know that they've got a good training program. Most professional licensed people that are open shop now and taking TD out of the equation, because as big as they are in the training programs they've got, most companies you go to work for these days, there is no training program. You get in, you get your license, now you start plumbing, go be a plumber. Education and knowledge are I think what set us apart, what set apart people like you and I that move up and become the foremans, the superintendents, the directors of operations, all the different positions that we move up and fill. When you were still a tradesman, how often did you go to extra classes to learn?
Not very much.
It doesn't take a lot.
It doesn't. I've been talked to more about what I hadn't done when I was with TD, what I hadn't done than what I'd done. Why didn't you finish the CEF classes? Well, because when I was in piping 2, everybody in piping 4 worked for me.
Right.
You know, I
could have taught the CEF classes.
Or when I said when we first started, I was kind of that anomaly
Mhm.
that was a little different than everybody else. You hit on something there, that the education, it's out there for everybody. And I don't know of a company that doesn't support that or pay for that.
There's a lot of them that don't.
Really?
Look, you've been with some really good companies, and I know
I've only been with 2.
Well, TD for education wise is one of the best. But you know that. That's why you stayed.
Yeah.
Okay, you were getting what you need. You were getting fed.
Right.
I think TD is the first company I ever went to work for that said, "Hey, we have education." It's like, wait, what? Why would I want to get educated? I've already got my plumbing license. I'm good. So yeah, you see it a little bit different because of where you are. Most open shop companies, you go in, they may say, yeah, we'd love for you to go, but they're not part of PHCC. They're not part of CEF. They're not part of ABC. They're not part of anything where they can just send their guys and say, hey, here, go get trained.
Yeah.
When we were at the airport had an education fund.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah. There was a lot of money in that too.
I went and became a certified HVAC tech. Not that I was ever going to use it, but I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to grow. And I mentioned to my guys all the time, y'all ever want to go learn something? Look, they're paying for education. At one point, there were like $4 million in there. They're like, nobody's coming and learning.
There was a lot of money.
Yeah. And people are like, nobody's coming and learning. So I went to Denali at the time, said, hey, I want to fill out the paperwork and I want to go take this course. It's on Saturdays. I'm not going to charge y'all. I need to be at work every day. I get that.
Yeah.
12 Saturdays in a row, I became an HVAC technician. Not a bad gig. I think education is out there for anybody who wants it.
They got to want it.
Mm-hmm.
They got to want it. There's a lot of people that they want the responsibility and the pay, but they don't want to do what it takes, the after hours, the weekends and stuff like that really just don't see the big picture yet. It's sad really because, when somebody's stepping up to the plate saying, we're going to pay for this, we're going to pay for that. As a superintendent, I was the first one that had to sign off on a class.
Right.
Just don't follow your career path. You know,
I want to take basket weaving 101.
Yeah. What?
Right.
And
I want to take YouTube. No, you don't.
They would try to, take advantage of the situation and stuff like that. But
do most people in the trades have a career path? Or are they already there?
Some do. One thing Tom Creed taught me was set yourself a goal. And then you better have a plan to get to that goal. And that's on anything, whether we're going to do this job, life, anything. A goal without a plan is a wish. Mm-hmm. He beat that into me.
You bet.
When you say that to people, what's your goal? Well, I want to own my own company. Okay, what's your plan on getting there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to work really hard.
Keep working hard till I get there.
Have that plan to get to that goal. And that plan almost always includes after hours stuff and education to make it. And when you tell people, put it out there like that, it kind of is self-explanatory, right?
I love the way you put it. One thing I've always said, and I used to say this to apprentices whenever I was an instructor in the union, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Yep.
Because if you don't know where you're going, that's exactly where you're going to be.
I'm going to steal that from you.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I've thought about that for a long, long time because whenever I taught isometric drawings, it was a roadmap. You go north, south, east, west, up or down. Pretend you're in a car, you're the Jetsons. And I could literally take somebody through an isometric drawing that way. Go north 4 feet. Go back east, 2.5 feet. Go up 3 feet. And you watch them start drawing it and looking at it and okay, and okay, and okay. And it does. It makes sense. But I rode motorcycles. And you can just hop on and go. It don't matter. Just go. Come up, whatever light we come up to next, we're turning left. Doesn't matter where it is, where it takes us, yada, yada, yada. But if you know, hey, I want to go from here to Little Rock, Arkansas. Now you better look at where do you turn? Because if you take off, you ain't going to get there. I think that's what a lot of people do in their career. They're like,
agreed.
I'm getting into plumbing. I'm going for a ride. When I got into plumbing, I had no idea there was residential, commercial, service, new construction, industrial, union, non-union.
Med gas. I mean,
yeah, none of that stuff.
Right.
I'm getting in to become a plumber. That's it. Didn't take me but a couple of years. Got my plumbing license. Remember, a plumber signed off on it. Dude, you're ready. Go take your test.
Yeah.
I literally went to him and said, hey, I'd left, was going to another company. I said, hey, I need you to sign my paperwork. And he said, I'll sign it. He put 4,000 hours, 8,000 hours, whatever he put down. I said, I'm not sure I work that many. He said, you're ready for your test. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're good. I'll sign off on it. Left on good terms. Most people today, and almost everybody that I've interviewed in this, and there's no point in asking you because you knew all the difference and all that. Your father had molded you coming up.
Right.
Told you union's horrible.
No.
Most people don't even talk about the union. It's just, and I was joking when I said that.
I know.
I was union when I worked with you, and you're like, man, does the union really pay for all your insurance? Yep.
Yeah.
It's part of their deal. It is what it is. But we don't get holiday pay. We don't get blue jean pay.
Yeah.
We don't get boot pay. Different things that TD got. Remember, I worked with TD long enough that I got like $100 on my check one week. I'm like, hey, y'all, I think y'all overpaid me. Something happened here. I said, no, it's just your blue jean fund.
Yeah.
That should be enough to buy you like 5 pair of jeans.
Yeah.
A lot of companies do things different. The union does things different. But most people getting into the trades, at least older people, I'm going to put you right up there with me, so make you feel really old. But most people getting into the trades that have been in it for 25, 30 years, we just got in a trade. We got in plumbing to become a plumber. We got in electrical to become an electrician.
Yep.
Got in HVAC to become a technician. We didn't know, wait, there's commercial and residential and industrial and service and new construction and union and non-union. And in each level, electrician, you can get into CCTV, you can get into cabling and data and a million different things. HVAC, you can get into chillers and plants and welding and pipe fitting and all that. Plumbing, you can get in chillers and plants and welders and welding and pipe fitting and med gas and WSPS and systems, supply systems, city systems, water treatment plants. There's a million things in each category. Most people getting into it these days just get into it to become.
As somebody young, take a plumber. Why'd you get into plumbing? Because they make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I can own my own company one day. They've got that ambition, but they don't, like you said, they don't realize how much there is to it and what it takes to get to that level, or if they have the drive to get to that level of owning their own company. That's where plumbing has the pipe fitting welding beat, I think.
I do too.
It's
no, for the same reason.
Yeah.
I tell people that there's not many welders that are going to go out and open their own welding company.
Right. And if you can repair stuff and you can make some money,
you bet.
But people will always need plumbing. I think if I had it to do,
and if they do, they can JB weld it. It works just the same.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Unless you get Hall of Famer, but
yeah, there you go.
Looking back, if I could do it all over again.
If you're enjoying the Trade Talks, hit that subscribe or follow button, which helps us produce this awesome blue-collar content absolutely free. And now, back to the episode.
I think more the HVAC service.
Yeah.
And it's right there with plumbing. Nobody's going to come into this if you don't have air.
Mm-hmm.
Pipe fit and welding, it's commercial or industrial. And I've never worked the industrial side of it. Not really, but
in a way, the airport's almost industrial.
Almost.
I did Texas Instruments. I was out TI for many, many years. So that was pretty neat to get to see it from a completely different point of view.
Right.
It's kind of funny to find a water leak and then go to your higher ups and say, hey, look, I want to present this. Yeah, we've got a water leak here. We need to shut it down for about 3 hours to fix it. And they're like, well, we'll have to do it on Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day. Or they're like, well, we can't wait that long. This is going to keep leaking. And they're like, well, this machine costs $1.5 million an hour to shut down.
Yeah.
Your little $100,000 repair can wait till Christmas.
Yeah.
we'll pay overtime. We don't care. And it's just like, wow, this one machine makes this much money.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea how much money you could make in the trades?
Not really. Not when I started. You're talking about when I was younger, just getting in.
Yeah.
I was told you're going to work Monday after a few weeks out of high school. It's like, all right, enough of this. Coming in half drunk all night, chasing girls. I was catching most of them, but
I doubt that.
I don't lie to men. So
yeah, I know. Why don't you lie to men?
I mean, I may a little bit like, Roger, I didn't know that was your wife. Or, no, officer, I didn't know how fast I was going. But other than that, I'm going to tell men the truth.
I've been told you didn't lie to men because you weren't trying to sleep with them.
True.
Coolest job you've ever done?
I think the funnest job was Cardinal Stadium. And it was just the way we all got along there. It was a Hunt Construction Group, was a general contractor. And anybody that ran any work out there, we were all from Texas. And we all got along together. We hung out after work together a lot. And, we were all...
Some of y'all lived together.
Yes.
At apartments,
houses,
condos,
rented houses
yeah.
and stuff. And it was just a good time. There was a lot to do. You're out of sight, out of mind. We didn't work a lot of overtime on that job. That's just kind of the Phoenix way at the time. So we would all, let's go to San Diego this weekend. Let's go to Rocky Point, Puerto Penasco, Mexico this weekend. Or let's drive up into Vegas. Most of the time in the summer, we were trying to get out of the heat.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to L.A., let's go party in Los Angeles this weekend. And we had some good times.
Not a bad gig.
We had that same vibe on the job. Nobody was trying to, we all looked out for each other and stuff and sequence of work and stuff like that.
Okay. Worst job?
Ballpark, Rangers.
Really? Globe Life?
Globe Life Field. Construction outran the design. And this Manhattan construction job. And I did some big jobs with them, AT&T, Countrywide Regional Headquarters with them. Great company, good group of people. They were just put under the gun, and it was time frame, and it was one of those jobs that separated the men and the boys, and it did it fast. And just the changes, trying to keep the schedule with the changes, it just put a lot of stress on the job. And I think, most jobs you have that point, it's like with your manpower peak. You hit to a point, then it's okay. Now we finish, although finishing last 10% is the hardest. But
you bet.
It was just, there was no relax at all from day one to the very, very end of it.
Wow.
It was just a fight every day.
And then they didn't even use the stadium for like a year after that, right?
Right. And
because the world locked down.
Yeah. World lockdown. They were still doing a lot of high school graduations and stuff there. The flow, it didn't really have a flow to it. And, kind of get that rhythm of how you're doing things, bouncing around a lot, which, in construction,
you got to get good at it.
Yeah. And it's a profitability killer. It can kill budgets and stuff and moving people from one place to the other. And you had big gang restrooms, 140 fixtures in there. And they're, hey, we need you to go in there and put all the labs in.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Today.
No, I'm going to do that when I can go in there and put all the plumbing fixtures in.
Right.
And then when I'm done with all the plumbing fixtures, you lock the door behind me so my fixtures don't get tore up. Trying to get that through their heads with the food service that changed and changed and changed. Design change just was murder on that place. It was a killer. I can look back at it now. I'm proud of it.
Right.
Proud of our Rangers, and usually, you're done with those bigger projects, those major projects, and you're proud of them. It took me a few years to be proud of that. That first season was gone. It took about 2 years before I could go in there and enjoy a baseball game. A vendor took me in there. Hey, we had great seats. And I went in there and just was miserable.
Right.
Just seeing
Looking
it
at
all
the
again.
work. I know.
The bad came. There was so much just misery working there.
Yep.
That came back and I couldn't enjoy it. And the next season I went opening day and okay, that was gone then. Whereas, walking into an office building and you're still proud of them, or the airport.
You bet.
That's another one that's a real. It's different.
It's tough, yeah.
DFW means DFW.
You bet, yeah.
Different freaking world, the way they do
that's
things.
the truth.
And
I wonder if that's why I always try to fly out of left field. I try to book Southwest. Yeah. It's closer. It's easier. I love it. I got leg room there, so it's pretty cool.
Of my 29 years at TD, about 9 of them has been at DFW Airport. Like, oh no, we sold another job there. Just getting your mind around the way they do things. But then you leave and you didn't realize how good you had it.
Right. And you should have loved it. I mean, what was it? 15 minutes from your house? Something like that?
It was. It really was.
Not a bad gig.
To get on the highway.
Now, I hated when they closed JR Steakhouse because I used to love going around to Capel.
Yeah.
And they had some wings that were so freaking hot.
Still the best. There's nothing like it.
I know.
JR's Bar and Grill.
See, that's what construction and the trades are all about. Where are you going for lunch today?
Yep. Where's there good to eat around here?
So you've worked on some big ones. You've worked on some good ones. You've worked on some bad ones. Looking back at all of them, which one are you most proud of?
First time I worked at DFW Airport was adding a bunch of pipe in the tunnels that go underneath that place, and adding pipe and switching out heat exchangers and pumps. The logistics of it all, the figuring that out, how to get this in here safely without getting our guys hurt, and get it done and stay on a schedule. That took a lot of planning. I'm proud of that. What the guys had to go through, the guys that helped me. And I think I was still a foreman then, and I had 68 people. We would go 6 weeks of working 40-hour work weeks with very little to do, enough to keep maybe 15 people. But I had to carry everybody.
You bet.
But then it would go for the next 2 months of working 7 days a week and shutdown after shutdown and just.
And then you didn't have enough
running
people.
And gunning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And trying to keep everybody in a good mood from killing each other. And I'm proud of that, what we went through there. I said kind of that about Rangers being the worst job. That tunnels and vaults at the airport was the most challenging. It was more challenging than even working under the deadline of the ball and the changes at the ballpark.
And I've been down in those tunnels. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trip.
Yeah.
It really is. Everything at DFW is tied together.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't see it's like, that's its own world. That's its own world. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's all tied together.
Planning that out. TD actually lost a lot of money on that first go round. We all made it back up in Terminal A.
Right. So if you could tell anybody getting into the trades right now, what recommendation would you have for them? We've got a lot of people that watch that. They're thinking about getting in the trades. They don't know what trade. They don't know a lot about the trades. They're just like, look, I don't want to go to college. And this is another opportunity. What would you tell them?
Look at every trade. Find something that interests you about that trade and make your decision then. And it's physical work. lately, what we're running into is people that want to get in the trades and they're not mechanically inclined.
Mm-hmm.
You see that more and more. Younger people that can't take a nut and put it on a piece of all-thread rod, put a screw in a screw gun and drill it into duct. They can't do it. No, hold the drill
Straight, level,
perpendicular
plumb,
and pull the trigger. And it's like younger people, they don't have that in them. They didn't build their doghouse with their dad when they were younger. They don't have that.
They don't have shop in school anymore.
Right.
Just a waste.
It's weird. It really is. And
well, it's weird for people like me and you because we grew up doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's just a screw. It's just a nail.
Yeah. You didn't build clubhouses when you were a kid.
Right.
That's a big challenge.
It
I think
is.
everybody.
It's huge. So really just one last question, and this has been great. I love this. I've known you for a long time. Respect the work you do, the way you do it, the way you lead people, the way you work with people next to you, above you, below you. I always have. Just so y'all know, the whole Welder Hall of Fame thing is BS.
It is
just
not.
So y'all
it
know.
is not.
Yeah, you find it, you send it to me, and let me know.
It's very exclusive. You can't Google it.
Yeah.
We keep people out of it for a reason.
It's a good reason. So your dad told you you're going to work Monday. You get up that morning, you put your jeans on, put your boots on, walk out the front door. If you could walk up and talk to little Philip that day, right now, knowing everything that you know now, what would you tell Philip that day?
Don't take the criticism personal. There's a lot of guys back then that did it, and I do it now to a point, but it's manage with sarcasm and teach through humiliation. Sounds rough, don't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like completely wrong way to do stuff.
You bet.
But it's really the right way.
It works.
Yeah.
They remember that.
Yep. It's that slap in the face so you remember it.
And like you said, it's not personal.
No, it's not. And a lot of people, it's almost it's then and now. There really is a then and now. I would take it personal, not to take it personal.
Thanks, brother.
Yes, sir.